So once again, I welcome you all to the classroom. So in the last class, we have discussed regarding Coulomb's law, and we found that from Coulomb's law, the electric field E is conservative. Means we have proved that del cross E is equal to 0. So now, as we discussed in the previous class, electrostatics deals with two laws. One is Coulomb's law, and other one is Gauss law. Okay. So yesterday we proved Coulomb's law. Now we are going to derive Gauss law. So here we are going to derive Gauss law in three stages. One is Gauss law for conducting material. Okay. Conducting materials, right? So Gauss law for conducting materials. Okay. So let us see. So as you know, Gauss law deals with electric flux. Already I told you, I have discussed regarding Gauss law. So this law, as you know, connected with electric flux and charges. As you know, the electric flux is defined as N is equal to surface integral of E dot ds. Is it right? So we proved it. I showed it. So in the previous classes that the electric flux of E is given by N and it's equal to surface integral of E dot ds. Right? So now consider some volume V. We are going to consider some volume V. So containing electric charges, some volume V, it contains some electric charges, right? Such that there will be one condition. The condition is no mass is associated with these charges. Means due to the presence of the charges in the volume, there will be no additional mass. Got it? Okay. Due to the presence of charges, there will be no additional mass on the volume. Okay. So consider a volume V containing the electric charges, right, such that there will be no mass associated with these charges. And now we have to define electric lines. So I think you may remember what is streamline and what is vortex line. So in fluid mechanics, streamline. What is streamline? So streamline means it's a line drawn in the fluid such that the tangents to it at each and every points will be in the direction of velocity. Got it? Streamline means it's a line drawn in the fluid such that the tangents to it at each and every point will be in the direction of what? Will be in the direction of velocity, because this is concerned with the velocity and fluid. That's why it should be along velocity, in the direction of velocity. Now electric line means it's also a line drawn in the media, electric medium, okay, drawn in the media such that again the tangents to it at each and every point, will be in the direction of what? I think you may guess. So electric field. Here streamline means they must be in the direction of velocity. Electric line means they must be in the, the tangents must be in the direction of E, electric field. Okay. These lines originated from the positive, okay. These lines originated from the positive charges, right? Originated from the positive charges and terminated at the negative charges. Okay. These lines originated from the positive charges and terminated at the negative charges. Okay. So now from these lines we can define tube. From these electric lines we can define a tube. And so means there will be number of electric lines and these line forms tubes. Okay. These line forms, making use of these lines, so we can define the tube. And number of tubes in an infinitesimal surface area is called the electric flux. Got it? So we can define So now using these electric lines we can form a tube, and number of tubes over an infinitesimal area is called the electric flux of E. Electric flux of the electric field E. Number of these lines in an infinitesimal area is called as the flux of the electric field E, and it is denoted by dN. So N is total flux, dN is only on the infinitesimal area. It is in the total surface area. It is in the infinitesimal surface area, and it is given by E into cos theta into dA. So this is area. dm is area. E into cos theta into dA. But you know, using Coulomb's law, you know what is what is E? It is nothing but Q by 4 pi epsilon naught. Okay, into R, 1 by R square. So here cos theta is there, divided by R square into dA, means instead of E you can write this one. Okay, Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into R square. Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into R square into cos theta into dA. Right. Now, by the definition of solid angle, I think you know solid angle is given. Solid angle means take a surface, take a sphere. So over the sphere you can find the circles around the sphere, right? So you can find in like this. Look here. Assume this as a sphere. So you can find the circles over the sphere in all directions. Okay. So that's why there will be a solid angle, and that solid angle, element of solid angle. If you are going to take a small element in the sphere, then you are going to take, that is so called element of solid angle, and that element of solid angle is given by dA is equal to cos theta divided by R square into dA. d omega is equal to cos theta divided by R square into dA. So this is so called element of solid angle. Element of solid angle. Okay, and it is denoted by d omega, and it is given by cos theta by R square into dA. Right. Now dN can be expressed with the help of solid angle, element of solid angle, as you know, dN is equal to Q by 4 pi epsilon naught into cos theta divided by R square into dA. But you know what is d omega? D omega means cos theta by R square into dA. That's why you can write it as Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into d omega. Is it right? So you can express dN as, with the help of solid angle, element of solid angle. So Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into d omega. So it is only the flux in the infinitesimal area, right? Now, so if you are going to take over all the surface area, right, then it becomes, integral. Summing over all the area means it is nothing but summation, nothing but integration. That's why it becomes N. N is equal to Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught. Okay, it is independent of integral. So, of integral of d omega. It is nothing but, it is total solid angle. It is element of solid angle. Okay, but solid angle means, so total solid angle means it is nothing but 4 pi. Okay, 2 pi is so for the circle and 4 pi is for the solid angle, right? 4 pi. That's why it becomes Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into 4 pi. Now 4 pi get cancels. Then the remaining is N is equal to Q divided by epsilon naught. And so this is the required, Gauss law for the conducting material. But so this is with the help of, this is with the help of what? This is with the help of, electric field. If you are going to take the dielectric field, you know, D is equal to epsilon naught into E. Is it right? D is equal to epsilon naught into E. Dielectric field is defined by epsilon naught into E. Therefore, E means you know Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into R square. But here you can find epsilon naught, that epsilon naught and this one get cancels. Then remaining is only Q divided by 4 pi R square. Therefore, so the solid, element of flux in the infinitesimal area is given by, instead of E, d cos theta into dA. But capital B D means you know 4 Q divided by 4 pi R square. This is nothing but Q divided by 4 pi R square into cos theta into dA. But again, using the element of solid angle, you can write it as Q by 4 pi into d omega. Is it right? Again, upon integration. Why we have to do integration? Because we have to take on overall the surface area. That's why your integration will give n is equal to Q divided by 4 pi into integration of d omega. Integration of d omega means, you know, it is nothing but total solid angle. It is 4 pi. 4 pi get cancels. Then the remaining is n is equal to Q. Okay. N is equal to Q. Means if you use electric field E, then Gauss law becomes N is equal to Q divided by epsilon naught. If you use dielectric field D, then your Gauss law becomes N is equal to Q. Okay, and this is the Gauss law for for the conducting material, and as well as it is also called as for point charges. Okay, for point charges, right? For point charges. So this is regarding Gauss law for conducting material. Now we go for the Gauss law for so yadu distribution of charges. Okay, distribution of charges, right? So in the previous, so we have studied Gauss law for conducting material. It is nothing but for the point charges, means source is nothing but the point. Here we have distributed the charges over the given surface area. Okay, we have distributed the charges over the given surface area. Then how the Gauss law looks. Okay, so we can see, instead of point charges, we have distribution of charges. So I have taken delta Q, means for the small area over the infinitesimal volume element dV. So in this infinitesimal volume element, we have distributed the charges dQ. Okay, so this is the infinitesimal area, and there the charges are given by delta Q, right? Then by definition of density of charges, so density of charges, as simple as it is nothing but the definition of density. So it is nothing but number of charges in the given volume. That is rho E is equal to limit as delta V tends to 0, delta Q divided by delta V, right? So this is nothing but the so density of distribution of charges, right? It is by the definition of density of charges using our continuum hypothesis. It is the density of the charges. If we sum over all the elements, we have taken only the infinitesimal element, infinitesimal volume element. So instead of taking infinitesimal volume element, if sum over all the elements of the charges in the total region means total volume V, okay, then the summation becomes again, so integration, volume integral, then Gauss law for distribution of charges becomes, right, surface integral of d dot ds is equal to volume integral of rho E into dV. So this is nothing but the integral form of the Gauss law. This is nothing but integral form of the Gauss law. But we need differential form of the Gauss law. That's why we have to remove the integrals. But to remove the integrals, we have to convert either surface integral to volume integral or volume integral to surface integral. But from the Gauss divergence theorem we know only, so conversion of surface integral of some vector into ds is nothing but volume integral of divergence of that vector into dv. Is it right? This is nothing but your Gauss divergence theorem for vectors, right? Using this theorem in the integral form of the Gauss law, so I mean left hand side of the integral form of the Gauss law, we can get surface, instead of surface, volume integral of divergence of d into dv is equal to volume integral of rho e into dv. But you can write this as volume integral of del dot d, means divergence of d, minus rho e into dv is equal to 0. But we know the volume V is arbitrary. Therefore, when the volume V is arbitrary, the integrand must be equal to 0. So, you know this from your Cauchy's integral formulae. Okay, sorry, Cauchy's theorem for the disk. Okay, so in complex analysis, you know that. So I mean over a contour C, some f into dz is equal to 0, it is possible only when f is equal to 0. Using this theorem we can write, so the integrand must be 0 only when the volume V is arbitrary, otherwise integral must not be equal to 0. Therefore del dot divergence of d is equal to rho e. Here so instead of writing del dot d minus rho e is equal to 0, here I wrote it as del dot d is equal to rho e. Okay, but you know the dielectric field d is equal to epsilon naught into E. This is dielectric field, this is electric field. Dielectric field can be expressed in the form of electric field as d is equal to epsilon naught into E. By substituting this in this equation, you are going to get del dot E is equal to rho E divided by epsilon naught. Because epsilon naught is constant, you may take it outside from the divergence. Then by cross multiplying, you are going to get divergence of E is equal to rho E by epsilon naught. Okay, so this is nothing but your differential form. This is also the differential form of Gauss law, and also this is also the differential form of Gauss law. This is valid when the dielectric, for the existence of the dielectric field, and this is the Gauss law valid when the electric field is existed, right? So these are the same laws. So instead of D, I have taken E only. If the material is dielectric, then this is the Gauss law, del dot D is equal to rho E. If the material is electrically conducting, then so it is nothing but, so del dot E is equal to rho E by epsilon naught. So again you can using, so by simplifying this you are going to get this one, because by taking epsilon naught here it becomes D, that's why del dot D is equal to epsilon naught. So this is the Gauss law for the, so which one? Distribution of charges. Okay. Now, so we have some theorems. So so theorems not to prove, just to know. So some criteria, some hypothesis in the electrodynamics. That is, one says electric field inside a conductor is 0. One theorem says the electric field inside a conductor is 0, means so inside the conductor there will be no creation of the electric field. And the second one says the density of distribution of charges rho E is equal to 0 in a conductor. Density is 0 in a conductor. And third one says if rho EB is the density of polarized charges, okay, rho EB, rho E means density of distribution of charges. This is density of distribution. So if this is density of distribution of charges, this is density of distribution of polarized charges, right? So then, so your del dot P, so this is equal to minus rho EB, then this condition is valid, okay? Del dot P, polarized current, okay, polarized current, del dot P is equal to minus rho EB. You have to remember all these three theorems. Proofs are not necessary for these theorems, just you should know this concept, that's it, right? Now we go for Gauss law, okay, Gauss law for general material, general material. So first we have studied for the, so conducting material means point charges, then distribution of the charges over the, so I mean conducting material. Now we are going to study the Gauss law for the general material. So what do you mean by general material? Then general material means it is combined conducting and dielectric material. So there we studied separately. If the material is simply conducting, electric field E exists. If it is dielectric material, then D exists. Is it right? So we have studied in two different ways. But now we have taken the general material. General material means it is the combination of, means combined conducting as well as dielectric material. Therefore, there will be rho means rho T means total density. Rho T means total density is equal to density of free charges, okay, density of free charges plus density of polarized charges means bounded charges, okay. Here rho E is density of free charges and rho EB means density of bounded charges. Now as you know, Gauss law is given by del dot E is equal to rho E by epsilon naught. But here instead of rho E, so we have rho T. Therefore for this material your Gauss law will becomes del dot E is equal to rho T divided by epsilon naught, okay. Del dot E is equal to rho T by epsilon naught. Rho E means it is purely for conducting materials. In this concept we have combined conducting as well as dielectric material. Therefore instead of rho E there will be rho T. Rho T means rho E plus rho EB. Rho E means density of free charges and rho EB means density of bounded charges. That's why your Gauss law will becomes del dot E is equal to rho T by, so epsilon naught. But by cross multiplying epsilon naught you can write it as del dot epsilon naught into E is equal to rho T. But rho T means rho E plus rho EB. Is it right? So del dot epsilon naught into E, by cross multiplying this to this side you are going to get like this, is equal to rho T. But rho T means rho E plus rho EB. But look here what happens. So del dot epsilon naught into E is equal to rho E plus rho EB is there. But you studied in the theorem, I mean in the third theorem, that if the density, I mean the charges are polarized charges, rho EB, right, then it satisfies. So del dot P is equal to minus rho EB. That's why instead of writing rho EB you can write it as minus divergence of P. Is it right? Minus divergence of P. But on simplification you are going to get, so del dot epsilon naught into E plus P is equal to rho E. Simply by taking this to this side and by taking the divergence common, I mean the operator as common, then your equation will becomes del dot epsilon naught into E plus P is equal to rho E. Is it right? But so here you can write this as del dot D in del dot D is equal to rho E. Then what is D? Your D is nothing but epsilon naught into E plus P. This D is different. This is not that D. So that D is equal to, so epsilon naught into E only. But this D is epsilon naught into E plus P. Okay. So this is flower D and this is normal capital D. Right. So del dot D is equal to rho E. Then D is nothing but epsilon naught into E plus P. So now equation 2 is Gauss law for general material. Okay. Now if you are going to take homogeneous isotropic dielectric material, homogeneous isotropic dielectric material means what? Material means physical parameters are same in all directions. Physical parameters are same in all directions. Okay. Now, so for this material, your P, polarized current, will becomes epsilon naught into chi E into AE. So your P becomes, polarized current will become epsilon naught into chi E into E. You know what is epsilon naught, but you don't know what is chi E. Chi E means electric susceptibility. Susceptibility, right? So it is nothing but electric susceptibility, right? SUSEPTIBILITY, electric susceptibility. So chi E is nothing but your electric susceptibility. So it exists only in dielectric materials. Got it? So electric susceptibility, so you can find only in the dielectric materials. Now using this we can write, so your D as, your capital D as, so capital D means epsilon naught into E plus P, is it right? Now your capital D will becomes epsilon naught into E plus epsilon naught into chi E into E. Okay, chi E into E. Now by taking epsilon naught common, 1 plus chi E into E. But you can write this as epsilon naught into some epsilon R into E. Means epsilon R means 1 plus chi E. 1 plus chi E is taken as epsilon R, right? Epsilon naught into epsilon R into E. But as a simplification, I can write this as epsilon into E. Then what is epsilon? Your epsilon is nothing but epsilon naught into epsilon R. Then what is your epsilon R? Epsilon R is 1 plus chi E. Okay, 1 plus chi E. Right. Now, so here you can observe that this epsilon R is called as relative permittivity. What is it? What is this? This is relative permittivity. Relative permittivity. Epsilon R is nothing but relative permittivity, or it is also called as relative dielectric constant. It is also called as relative dielectric constant. And your epsilon is called as electric permittivity. This is relative permittivity and epsilon is electric permittivity, or simply dielectric constant. This is dielectric, look here, this is relative permittivity or relative dielectric constant, and this epsilon is known as simply electric permittivity or dielectric constant. Look here. So if you are interested to reduce this into conducting material, then you have to put chi E must be 0. Chi E exists only in dielectric material, you know. That's why if you are going to put chi E is equal to 0, then there will be surely the absence of dielectric material. Means there will be only electrically conducting material. Then look here. If chi E is equal to 0, then ER will becomes 1. Epsilon R will becomes 1 only. So epsilon R into epsilon R into epsilon so it becomes simply epsilon naught. Because epsilon r is equal to 1, then your equation will becomes D is equal to epsilon naught into E only, right? So this is for conducting material. This is, so I mean, regarding your Gauss law for the general materials. Okay, so now I am going to stop so my lecture, because so today we have discussed the three laws. So one for Gauss law for conducting material, or it is also called as for point charges, then Gauss law for the distribution of charges, and Gauss law for the general materials. Okay, general material means both conducting as well as dielectric material. So tomorrow we can go for the electrodynamics. This is regarding electrostatics. Okay, let us see in the tomorrow. Okay, thank you and take care.